The Bears just won their matchup with the Cleveland Browns. It's not time to celebrate yet. It's Packers week again. While the Bears have major injury updates, they haven't secured anything yet. The Chicago Bears could win against the Green Bay Packers and still miss out on the playoffs technically. We're talking about those playoff scenarios, the injury updates, and why DJ Moore is lined up for a really big game possibly this week. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And we got injury updates. And while I did drop an emergency episode yesterday, a live stream in regards to these topics, I want to kind of flesh them out a little bit more. So Ben Johnson updated on both Rome Odunze and Luther Burden, saying this in regards to Rome Odunze. When asked if they have considered shutting him down and reevaluating around the playoffs to have him healthy for the playoffs, he said this: all options are on the table. There may be a case where we need to protect him from himself a little bit so he can help us down the road. So it seems like the Bears are contemplating and considering forcing Rome Odunze to sit a little bit. Now, I know this has been talked about, like, are you sitting him to the playoffs? Maybe just because of a short week. Keep in mind, we have a very short week this week. We take on the Green Bay Packers on Saturday, so it's not as much of a runway as what the Bears have had before. So because of that, it could lead to that. And with Rome re-aggravating his injury in warm-ups before the last game, which, it sucked to lose him right before after it had been announced that he was active, I'm sure there's a little bit concern in that in regards to, we don't want to have him practice this whole week and then have him look like he's ready and then re-aggravate it maybe before the game or during the game again to where, unfortunately, he's not able to play then for a couple of weeks, right? So, with the stress fracture on the foot, it's just that. It's due to stress. That stress is being mobile because of that. And so now, with that said, having him sit a little bit down for a little while to kind of make sure he heals up from that, give him the most time and runway from that, it makes a lot of sense. And it's good that the Bears are even in a position to where they have a player that they have to think about and consider, hey, do we need to shut this player down to make sure that we have him available for the playoffs? Like, that's huge. It's not something we've always been able to say with this team. And so that's what they're evaluating when it comes to it right now. And we'll see what Rome does in terms of practice, right? I think even if they do end up trying to give him some snaps on Saturday, he probably is going to be limited in practice for the entirety of this week as they allow to see if that helps ramp him up. If he's not, and there's any soreness or anything in regards to that, he could be out for another game. And that's the best thing. Listen, the matchup against the Packers is difficult. And best believe, I want Rome Odunze out there against the Packers if we can have him. I want everybody healthy out there, right? But the Bears have bigger things that they're fighting for as well that they also need to think about how they can get there and how they need to perform in those playoffs because they have goals. They have things that they want to accomplish. So, we'll see how all this shakes out. But overall, Rome Odunze is questionable. Do not be surprised if we don't get a firm update maybe until right before the game. And we'll see what happens with Rome Odunze with that. We'll watch the injury report as it comes out over the course of the week. With the Bears having a short week, the first injury report should be submitted sometime today, and we'll see how that's going to work out for this team overall. So, it sucks not to have Rome. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. Rome has become Caleb Williams' favorite target, but it's more important to have him available for the playoffs. All three of the next games that we have are against teams fighting for the playoffs, so they're all equally important. If he has to sit this week and then he's available the last two, or if he has to sit the next two and he's available in the last one, or even if he has to sit the rest of the regular season games and then perform and he's able to perform in the playoffs, that's worth it as well. We'll see how that's going to have. I wonder if the same narratives are going to start, though. If Rome Odunze misses, 6 games and people are you going to start the same narrative that you guys started on Kyler Gordon? Just interested, a little pettiness in there. I'm interested to see how that goes. But outside of that, we also got an update on Luther Burden. Ben Johnson saying this: his ankle is something we're working through and talking about. We'll see how the week goes in terms of whether we will have him available Saturday night or not. but it's more of day-to-day type deal with him. So there you go. He told that to Nicholas Moreno, and that's cool, right? I mean, it's day-to-day, so it doesn't seem like it's something that they're overly worried about it going extended period of time. Like I said, if it wasn't for the shortened week, it may not even be as big of a question, right? But with the shortened week and you have 3 straight games, right, that you need to get into the playoffs, that's where the Bears, have the question at. And we know Luther Burden has, he was a big factor in the win against the Browns before he went down in the second half and did not return in that game at all. So it's going to put pressure on the team. I want to be clear here, like losing or not having potentially both these guys against the Packers is going to suck. It is going to suck if that ends up being the case. I'm not going to speak that into existence as things stand right now. You want to have those guys out there, but we know that the Bears still have targets. We have DJ Moore. We have Colston Loveland. We still have Cole Kmet. Olamide Zaccheaus, who hasn't necessarily been the best over the last couple of weeks. He's really kind of had a disappearing act. How does he perform when you have to rely on him and you have to go to him? And maybe with more targets, he performs a little bit better. But we still got players like Jahade Walker, who stepped up at times for the Chicago Bears. Maurice Alexander off the practice squad could be elevated as well. So that could be some things that the Bears do look at to try to, if both these players end up missing time. But, health is the most important thing. And especially when you're fighting for the postseason, health is the most important thing. And I'll say this, I want to give credit to these guys that they are even at the place where they're dealing with these injuries, and clearly they're trying to fight to get back on the football field, right? You had Ben Johnson saying that we may have to protect him against himself. You know why he's saying that? Because Rome's saying, hey, listen, let me try to get out there. I want to get out there. I want to play. Listen, yeah, the stress fracture is cool, but I want to try to play through it. And we know that Luther Burden's a dog, right? We have these dogs. We have these weapons on this team. And you want to give that and make that available for Caleb Williams as the season goes on, especially in a matchup like this against the Green Bay Packers. But sometimes you have to sit your guys. You got to rest them. But this all now points to and changes that this is shaping up for a big week of DJ Moore, right? You look at DJ Moore and what he did, 2 touchdowns, 69 yards on 4 receptions, and then that pass, the 22-yard touchdown from Caleb Williams, that was one of the most electrifying passes that I've ever seen in my life, right? And this is an opportunity for DJ Moore to really, step up and to be that primary target for the Chicago Bears. And, that's even with if Rome's just out, right? If you are missing Rome and Luther, listen, I love Jahade Walker, and he's had some games for the Bears. I love, Oz can definitely play, even though he hasn't necessarily been the best, but that's going to thrust DJ Moore to be a huge, bigger target for the Bears. And, the statistics have not been the best for DJ Moore this year. He has 43 receptions on 71 targets for 567 yards, but he does have 5 touchdowns, right? And that's with 3 games left to go on this season. And DJ has been a player that he sacrificed. And, he's talked about the fact of how much losing he's done over his career, and he wants to win. He's on a winning team. And if I'm not mistaken, this may be the first time he's on a winning team in his NFL career. So, while there's been a lot of narratives made about DJ Moore and the relationship to Caleb Williams, and because of DJ's comments about supporting Justin Fields and all that bullshit, I've talked about that ad nauseum. I've talked about that. If Luther Burden and Rome miss, you're going to need DJ Moore to have a big game. We can talk about next man up all the time. And Olamide Zaccheaus and Jahade Walker, they're going to have that next man up mentality. But even outside of those guys, DJ Moore, you are a veteran on this team, right? You are one of those guys that this coaching staff talked about their body language and leadership and those type of things. This is now your opportunity. Regardless of how this season has gone, you are fighting for the playoffs. And so this now leads to a big game for DJ Moore, and he could very well have a breakout game. And especially if it comes against the dreaded Green Bay Packers, that's huge. DJ Moore is going to be ready, and DJ Moore is going to have the right mindset about it. And even after the pass to Caleb Williams and him talking about how people need to acknowledge Caleb Williams and his arm strength and stuff like that, like he's been supportive of Caleb as well, right? And, sometimes that goes untalked about from people who want to have the more salacious headlines and things like that. But I think overall, this football team is going to need DJ Moore to get it together. So when you look at potentially missing Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, and how that propels DJ Moore up into that, and even we're going to need Olamide to step up as well, that also puts more pressure on the Bears' offensive line, right? Like, this Bears' offensive line did an admirable job keeping Caleb Williams, for the most part, protected against the Cleveland Browns. You're going to have to do that against the Green Bay Packers, too. I know they lost Michael Parsons, and, not going to celebrate that, but even then, you still need to get yourself together and get it ready for that. This offensive line is going to be a big thing for the rest of this way for the Chicago Bears. And Caleb Williams called them the Avengers. And I love that nickname for this offensive line because, listen, that on your left moment, like that's what that feels like, right, in game. And that's how this offensive line has been. And it's been a big reason of why the run game has been really good as well. Now, the game on Sunday is not going to be as cold as last week against the Browns, but or Saturday, I should say. It's not going to be as cold. It's actually going to be a warmer day, but you're still going to need that offensive line. You're going to have to protect Caleb, give him even more space. Like I said, DJ Moore, Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, all these guys become even bigger factors of that passing game for Caleb Williams, and that safety valve and how he has that chemistry with those guys, that becomes even more important. But do not overlook this offensive line, and especially if this Bears team does make the playoffs, which we all hope that they will, the revamp of the offensive line is going to be a huge reason why the Chicago Bears were able to achieve what they were able to achieve this year. And you got to acknowledge that. And we're going to definitely keep acknowledging it. While Jonah Jackson had some moments in the last game, you look at what Ozzie Trapillo has done and how Ozzie Trapillo has stepped up over the since he's been in there as a starter. He's been right back to what we hoped we were going to get from him at the start of the season. We've already talked about the veterans. Jonah Jackson, Drew Dahlman, what these guys have meant to this team. Joe Thuney, of course, has been an absolute steal for the Chicago Bears at what they got him for, and it's been major to help this team get to where he's getting to. So with injuries on that offensive side of the ball, namely Caleb Williams' weapons, we're going to need even better protection to give him more time for those guys. And wide receivers don't drop the catches. So there you go on that one. But with that, we also got a positive update on the defensive side of the ball with the Bears marking Tremaine Edmunds to return. They opened up his 21-day practice window to return from IR, and the word is that he could return as early as this Saturday against the Green Bay Packers. That seems to be what they're aiming for Tremaine Edmunds, and this is major. Tremaine was on pace to have a career year, not just for Chicago, but for his whole entire career. That's what this season was shaping up to be for him under Dennis Allen, and that's not something to just ignore. Like, Tremaine had been disappointing. And we talked about it coming into the season, how Tremaine has put up some decent stats here with the Chicago Bears, but that impact that we look for him to have, especially in coverage. We signed him as coming off one of the best coverage linebacking seasons that we've seen, right? And he wasn't really that. Then you look at what he's done here so far this season. In only 10 games, he's had 89 sacks, 43 of those being solo. He had one sack. I'm sorry, let's say 89 sacks, 89 tackles. 89 sacks would be wild. 89 tackles, 1 sack, 4 interceptions for him and what he's done so far. 9 passes deflected. He was on pace to have a career year. His career high in tackles is 121. That was his rookie year. He was on pace to run through that this season before he got hurt. Now, with 3 games remaining, if he does return, you're talking about a guy that could easily still get 110, 115 sacks. I keep saying sacks. 115 tackles when it's all said and done. So getting Tremaine back is really important. And Tremaine, and I think it goes a long way in how coaching and how you're utilized in the scheme of that coach is important, right? Dennis Allen's scheme isn't crazily differently from Matt Eberflus's, right? It uses the same base. Now, how he uses defensive backs is much more creative than what anything Matt Eberflus has ever done as a DC and a defensive play caller. But how Dennis Allen really understood and had a vision for how he wanted to use Tremaine Edmunds, it really made Edmunds a lot more impactful for this Bears team at the start of the season. So getting him back for this team is huge, and I don't want to overlook that at all. He may have to take up after missing the number of games that he missed. He may have to, rent back up, and that's perfectly fine if he has to do that. But, Tremaine is important, and especially when we're talking about trying to get on this playoff push and this playoff run and get into the playoffs, Tremaine is going to be really important for what the Bears can do in the playoffs. So good to hear that Tremaine Edmunds is back. They opened up that window, and he could be back on the field as soon as this Saturday, and I would love to see it. Now, we've been talking a lot about the playoffs, right? And I want to talk about the Bears and what needs to happen for them to secure a playoff berth this week. Now, I want to be clear. Some things can go where the Bears, they can beat the Packers this week and still not secure a playoff spot. They can technically beat the Packers this week and still miss the playoffs, right? So when I say things like they haven't technically achieved or accomplished anything yet, that's what I mean. Things still are left up in the air that they still have to lock in as a team, and I think they'll do that, right? But for this one, if you want to make things simple for the Chicago Bears, right? And I want to think if you want to make it simple and have them lock in and secure their postseason berth this week in Week 16, if that's what the Bears want to do, it's a very simple process for the Bears. The Bears have to beat the Green Bay Packers, which is great. Sure, beat the Cheeseheads. We want to see you beat the Cheeseheads. That's no problem, right? Beat the Green Bay Packers. That's the first thing. Handle your course of business. When we talk about things being in the Chicago Bears' control, that's the thing. Beat the opponents that are in front of you. That's what you have to do first. So first off, beat the Green Bay Packers. That's the first thing that we need you to do, right? After that, after beating the Green Bay Packers, then that's where you start needing some help. And that's where the Bears hopefully are going to get that help. So one of the ways that the Bears can secure a playoff berth as well is that they need the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the Detroit Lions. That's what they need to happen. If those two things happen in Week 16, the Bears beat the Packers, and then Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Detroit Lions. I say Pistons, the Detroit Lions. Then the Chicago Bears secure their playoff victory. The first playoff appearance. They secure their first playoff appearance in 5 years if they're able to do that. And that's what a big thing of what it comes down to, right? So when people talk about what the Bears need to do to lock in and why when I said, before last game that the Bears need 3 more wins and people were saying, well, the Bears only need 2, that's what I'm talking about. The Bears could win. They get those 2 wins that people were talking about and not secured. If they want to do it, they're going to need help from Aaron Rodgers, which is crazy enough to say. But if Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Detroit Lions this week and the Bears take care of business against the Green Bay Packers, that is how the Bears can lock in and secure a playoff appearance for the first time in 5 years. That's how they can get it done. Now, I hope that they can get it done, right? And it's funny that it all comes out to work out this way. Now, we don't know if that's going to end up happening, and I'm not going to say for sure that it ends up happening. We'll see, right? The Bears play on Saturday, so we know if we take care of our side of the business, but then the Detroit Lions and the Pittsburgh Steelers don't play till 4:25 p.m. on Sunday. And best believe, if the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Detroit Lions and they're in Detroit, we will have a live stream shortly after that. I may even go live for the fourth quarter of that game against the Steelers versus Lions if the Bears take care of business against the Packers, because then we can celebrate live that the Chicago Bears are going to get into the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. And I would love to be able to celebrate that with y'all. So let's hope that happens. But I want to take a look at that, right? So we talked about what needs to happen outside the Bears' control. The Steelers need to beat the Detroit Lions, right? Outside of that, I want to talk about what the Bears need to do to get a win against the Green Bay Packers. The first thing is to start fast. That's what we did against the Cleveland Browns that helped us secure that victory. That is what Ben Johnson, that's what Caleb Williams, that was the talking point after the last game, is how we need to get out to early and fast starts. And if we're able to do that, how that helps the Chicago Bears, right? So what the Bears also did against Shedeur Sanders is they made it rough for him. The Bears have to make it rough on Jordan Love. I'm not saying that they can do it to the same extent that they did it against the Cleveland Browns. That would be completely different, right? But you have to, our defense, which has improved and has consistently gotten better. You've seen what Jalen Johnson did with that interception. Like, these players miss time. But if the Bears come out here and on the defense, make it a lot harder for the Green Bay Packers, and to the defense's credit, they did it for the first 3 drives in the last game. The Bears offense just couldn't take care of it. We have to get a quicker start offensively. We have to put points on the board in every quarter. I think that's the thing that I would say that I want to see the Bears do against the Packers this week. Put points on the board in every quarter. Do that. Hopefully you can score a touchdown in every quarter, but that's what the Bears have to do. They also have to let the offensive possessions go. They have to own the time of possession. You have to do that. You look at what we've done in our wins versus what we did in the loss against the Green Bay Packers. We have to own the time of possession. We have to do that. We have to move the ball. We have to stay on the football field, and we have to put up points. Again, goes back to what I said a few weeks ago. Touchdowns, not field goals. Now, take the field goal if it's there, but ideally you want to be able to get there. Create more pressure on Jordan Love. Get touchdowns. Start faster. Trust your run game, Ben Johnson. I hate saying this, right? The criticism is one thing. Everybody deserves criticism. Ben Johnson has to stop forgetting how good his run game is. It's almost like he has to be reminded every single week during the game just how good the run game has been for the Chicago Bears team. We need that. So if we can pressure Jordan Love early, and then we can come in and trust our run game, move the ball consistently. Caleb had a great game to start off with against the Browns, right? That whole first half, almost 16 yards per throw on that one. You're going to need Caleb Williams to still not expecting to replicate that type of production is a little bit asinine, but you still need Caleb Williams to come out here and do what he needs to do. You have to take advantage. They are without their defensive leader. Michael Parsons is down for the season. That leader is out there. You have to take care of that business. You didn't take care of it in Lambeau, so now you have to take care of it in Soldier Field. Let's hope that the Bears can do that. If they do, the Bears can get this win, and then with a little bit of help, they can secure a playoff appearance this week. Let's hope that they can do that. But That's my time for today, guys, man. If you guys are rocking with us in the playoff push, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel as well. Drop your thoughts and comments on the topics that we covered today. Can DJ Moore go off against Green Bay, right? Do you trust the Bears in the rematch against the Green Bay Packers as well? And how crazy would it be if Aaron Rodgers gets a win over the Detroit Lions and he helps the Chicago Bears secure their first playoff appearance in 5 years? That would be a crazy storyline to be able to see that, right? Let me know what you guys think on all that down below. Make sure you guys are following us at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like we like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.